You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The December 11th, 2024 meeting of the Branford RTM is called to order at 8:04 p.m. Let us please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Toohill, will you please call the roll?
Representative Adams. Absent. Representative Edelman.
Here.
Representative Alphone.
Here.
Representative Amore.
Here.
Representative Anderson.
Here.
Representative Black.
Here.
Representative Bonenberger.
Here.
Representative Brooks. Absent. Representative Dayhill.
Here.
Representative Everson.
Here.
Representative Greenberg. Absent. Representative Hartwell.
Here.
Representative Henschel.
Here.
Representative Hines.
Here.
Representative Ingraham.
Here.
Representative Keefe. Absent. Representative Leitch.
Present.
Representative Larson.
Here.
Representative Lafredo.
Here.
Representative Maresca.
Here.
Representative McCall.
Here.
Representative McCormick.
Here.
Representative Nupani.
Here.
Representative Papalizio. Absent. Representative Sharkey.
Here.
Representative Shrestha.
Here.
Representative Sumro. Absent.
Absent.
Representative Toohill. Here. Representative Verderame.
Here.
Representative Waterman.
Here.
And ex officio, I see our town clerk is present. You have a quorum, Madam Moderator.
Thank you very much,
You're welcome.
Representative Toohill. Item 4 on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the November 13th, 2024 meeting of the RTM. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any additions, corrections, or discussion of the minutes? All in favor of their approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes are approved. Item 5, receipt of communications, reports, and petitions. I have received none in the intervening weeks. Representative Toohill, have you received any?
I have none.
None. Okay. So we will move on. Before we move on to the rest of the agenda, the motion to adopt the 2025 meeting schedule was accidentally left off the agenda. So I'm looking for a motion to add that approval to the end of the agenda and to become item 14. Do I have a motion to? Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. This will be new item 14. Okay, let's move on. Pardon me. Oh, tonight of all nights. To consider and, if appropriate, approve a resolution passed by the Board of Finance to increase the cumulative ARPA fund appropriations by $71,521 from $8,185,500 to $8,257,021. Pardon me. This will support a variety of new projects from previously unappropriated ARPA dollars and will close out the fund. The projects include technology acquisitions for the Willoughby Wallace Library. Each of these will be spoken to throughout in the meeting. Branford Arts and Cultural Alliance to continue operating support for BACA. Technology acquisitions for the town. to supplement repairs and maintenance account to cover cost of painting Town Hall, and to replace certain furniture in Town Hall. The particulars are to increase the fund balance by $71,521, and we're going to go down the list. The first transfer as part of that total would be from heard by the Education Committee, technology acquisitions for the Willoughby Wallace Library. I understand that there was not a quorum in the Education Committee, so we will be needing to vote to suspend Rule 441, so this can be discussed on the floor. Do I have a motion to suspend Rule 441? Second. Okay. You got that, Fred? Okay.
I do.
Okay. All in favor of suspending 441? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Representative Leitch, do you want to lead us in that discussion?
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Moderator. We did have a meeting, and I think there was some confusion on the town website. It may have said canceled, and then since I took over as the education chairperson and sent the agenda in, I don't know that everyone was aware there was actually a meeting. So we did not have a quorum. We were not able to vote on anything. However, Jennifer Sullivan, is she here tonight? No. Okay, Jen Sullivan, who is the director of the Willoughby Wallace Library, she attended our meeting and provided us with detailed information regarding the request for the ARPA funds. And we had much discussion about it, and she gave us many details. But as I said, we could not vote.
Okay. Could we have a few of the details of what the funds were for?
Let's see. I guess I did not plan to give details.
Okay.
And I have notes. I can go back to that. I mean, basically, it was they need to utilize the Lion system.
Right.
And that's why they're asking for the money, and they're having some trouble coordinating with the town technology and Lion technology, and so it's really necessary for them to function.
Okay, very good.
Other questions?
Any questions or additions about this item? Okay, then we will vote on each item as we go down, I think, because each person is going to have to speak to, each committee is going to have to speak to these individually. So all in favor of appropriating $4,370 to technology acquisitions for Willoughby Wallace, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the item is approved. Second item was heard, as a matter of fact, 3 items were heard by the Administrative Services Committee. That was the BACA appropriation, the technology acquisitions for the town, and the furniture purchases for the town. Representative Edelman, could you rise and speak to these?
Sure, thank you, Madam Moderator. First, the $35,000 transfer for the Branford Arts and Cultural Alliance. This appropriation was viewed as an economic development effort to attract citizens and visitors to the town center, which will, in theory and in practicality, create a rate of return on the financial benefit to the town. Very well articulated presentations were made both by the board chairman, Jerry Casanova, and the vice president of the board, my friend Robin Sandler, who's present. First, Selectman Koskoff additionally opined concerning the benefits that this art gallery has provided to the town, and the very substantive financial benefit we expect to receive, and smooth running, functioning, and the value that this institution adds to the town. Monies, a small portion of the monies are paid for some operational deficits the gallery faces now, and the balance would be for expenses moving forward. This was heard on December 3rd, 2024 at the Admin Services Committee, and passed unanimously by a vote of 6-0 for all of those members that were present. I put that in form of a motion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions for Representative Edelman about this appropriation? Hearing none, let's have a vote. All in favor?
Questions? Anyone from the audience?
Okay. For anyone from the audience? Questions, comments? No?
Happy to answer any questions.
They don't have any? That's great. It's good news.
The money will be used prudently, very well.
Okay, very good. Okay, let's have a vote. All in favor of appropriating $35,000 for Branford Arts and Cultural Alliance, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we have one, but the motion carries. Okay. Representative Edelman?
Abstentions. Ask for abstentions.
Any abstentions? No, sorry, I've been forgetting with abstention.
The next issue with that was discussed on the December 3rd, 2024 Admin Services Committee was a $7,500 transfer for technology acquisitions. This is for the town to purchase laptops and related equipment. Again, this was approved by a unanimous 6-0 vote. And I would put that as well, Madam Moderator, in the
Form of a motion. Okay. Are there any questions by the RTM on this matter? On any specifics? Okay. Comments? How about from our audience? Any other questions? None? Okay. Hearing no further questions, let's have a vote on an appropriation of $7,500 for technology acquisitions for the town. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries.
And again, Madam Moderator, lastly, on this particular item, there was a request for a transfer of $9,651 as you indicated earlier, to replace furniture in the town hall for some painting and other general repairs. And again, at the December 3rd, 2024 Admin Services meeting, that passed unanimously by a 6-0 vote, and I would again ask that be put in form of a motion by this body.
Okay. Concerning the appropriation for furniture, are there any questions? Any comments? Any questions from the now disappearing audience? Okay. Okay. All right. Hearing none, let's have a vote on this matter. All in favor of the $9,651 to be appropriated for furniture for town hall, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the matter carries. Purchase services was left off, unfortunately, public services agenda, so we will ask to suspend Rule 441 for a brief discussion. Do I hear a motion to allow the suspension of Rule 441? Handle second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Would you like to speak to this, Mr. Bonenberger? Okay.
Why not? If not, we then
Right.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I believe this is falls under the Director of Public Works, and it's repair and maintenance for buildings, routine painting. So for the sum of $15,000, as I understand it.
Okay. That's what it seems to be. Inside and outside of town hall. Okay. Okay. Any questions or comments on this appropriation?
Moderator?
Yes.
Clarification, GGP.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments about this? Hearing none, let's have a vote. All in favor of a $15,000 appropriation for purchase services of painting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. The entire fund balance transfer of $71,521 was approved and will go forward. Okay. Number 7, to consider and if appropriate, approve a request to... Yes.
We need to vote on the resolution as a resolution.
Madam Moderator, if I might?
Yes.
Yes, in Ways and Means, we actually looked at the entire number. I think this is what Representative Black is about to talk about. So the increasing the ARPA fund allocation by $71,521, which is the number we're seeing here.
Yeah.
We did not look at the individual items, but we did look at and approved on a unanimous basis
The original
moving
resolution.
the amount of ARPA funding up to $8,257,021, which closes out the fund.
Okay.
And so that was passed by the Ways and Means Committee, and I put that in form of a motion.
Okay, thank you. So the opening resolution is up for a vote. All in favor of approving the resolution to close out the fund by adding $71,521 to its current balance, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, the resolution carries. Okay, thank you very much, Representative Black. To consider and, if appropriate, approve a request to transfer previously appropriated funds between existing ARPA projects to create new projects. First would be the Branford Interfaith Housing, a request to transfer $40,000 from the basic needs account of the Branford Counseling Center to fund an earlier request by Branford Interfaith Housing for operating support from ARPA funds. From basic needs, $40,000 to Branford Interfaith Housing. This was heard by Admin Services. Representative Edelman.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Again, on December 3rd, 2024, this was heard by the Admin Services Committee. This $40,000 transfer is actually necessary in large part to cover funds from the loss of rental income. The agency had an issue with the property management organization whose in part responsibility was to collect the rents and apparently hadn't done so. So there was a large, when I say large, a large proportion of the $40,000 request is to pay for the rents that have not been tendered and paid to and collected by the property manager. I believe that in large part some of that had accrued over during the months with COVID related. Mr. Semino Peter came and talked to the committee, and there was a fairly in-depth discussion, and issues were raised by members of the committee about if there was any ability to recoup any of those monies from either the tenants themselves or from the property management company. The services the property management company has indicated have been terminated. It does not look like we're going to get any monies from them. Mr. Semino very substantively pointed out of the vulnerable population of individuals that are present at the rental housing units, and the reality is that the money is not going to be recouped. We were assured as the committee by Mr. Semino to the committee that the change in management would rectify the problem. They didn't expect it to happen again. I seem to get the sense from Peter that it was somewhat of an outlier, that they had this management committee that apparently had some problems other places other than affecting this town, and that's what it was all about. So it wasn't there was no excuses made other than the blame on the management committee for not creating that. There was not much discussion on the oversight as to who was paying attention to the management committee along the way. But after lively discussion and some questioning of Mr. Semino, this was approved unanimously by a 6-0 vote.
Okay.
And I put that in forth of a motion.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion. Are there questions or comments for the committee on this matter?
I have a question.
Yeah, Representative.
Management company, is it still in business?
I would have to say yes if I don't really know the answer to that, but I think it was. I just know their service has been terminated with the town.
But it's still a functioning management
I
company for
have no
somebody
reason to
else?
believe that it's disbanded or gone out of business.
So isn't there insurance money? Isn't there,
Doesn't.
you can't go back and get they're at fault. We can't go back and get any money from them?
Representative Toohill, myself, and I believe one other member who I can't recall exactly whom had asked Mr. Cimino about recouping the money, and did not seem to be a viable option. But I have to be perfectly frank with you, nobody raised the issue of insurance. That question was never, I can recall there's other members of the committee that were here, and I see the minority leader agreeing with me that it wasn't raised.
And aren't they insured? They've got to be an insured company to settle problems like this. They're at fault.
I don't have the answer to that. I mean, I don't want to surmise.
I know.
It makes sense to me
put
what you're
down the
saying.
spot.
That issue was never really, I mean,
It's a fair question.
it's a very fair question. And it was asked, the emphasis really at one point was we have this vulnerable population that's going to face eviction if the rent's unpaid.
Right, so setting them aside.
Right, I understand that. No, I understand your
Yeah.
inquiry. I'm not diminishing it. I'm just telling you where the point of focus was on the conversation and the dialogue with Mr. Cimino and the committee.
Yeah.
Fair question. I'm not gonna, I don't have any spin on it. It wasn't asked.
Thank you. I know, sue them. It costs
sue
more
them?
in lawyers.
I know that's.
I mean,
It costs more in lawyers.
Yeah,
Certainly was my gut instinct.
I'm on the same page there.
But I'm not the town's lawyer, by the way.
Yeah, no.
Was that, well,
Yeah.
it's not the town anyway.
No,
It's not the town.
No.
Authorities.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not their lawyer.
It's a private nonprofit.
We know
Right.
town's giving them money.
Representative Henschel has a question.
Oh, sorry, Representative Henschel.
Yeah, I would just assume that by approving this, it doesn't foreclose the option of taking those actions if there was a possibility of that being a viable option. So I think it's a good question. Maybe it could continue to be pursued.
At least something on their Better Business listing to
Mike's-
say
Mike.
that they have defaulted and they
Who's
cost
the
us
Mike?
money.
Yeah, you have to use the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, the money has to be used, and there was a real risk, as it was explained to us, of the vulnerability of these individuals to face eviction. But I have no reason to not believe, unless there's statute of limitations issues, which I'm unaware of, that all of these issues can be addressed. And certainly we should all feel free to direct our interest to Mr. Cimino and the other people that have some regulatory authority over the operations.
Thank you.
Representative Hartwell has his hand up.
So you just raised the question that I have, which is what's the relationship between the town and this organization? They're coming to the town for money. I'm going to vote in favor of it. But my question is who is overseeing the organization and who can tell us in the future that something like this is unlikely to happen?
Great. Give him the mic.
Representative Black?
Through you, Madam Moderator, and my information is probably decades out of date, but I was once president of this organization. It's a consortium of local churches in the 80s. I was president in the 90s. It was funded by the state of Connecticut with no federal monies for the construction. The rents are set at 1/3 of the household income. So they're supposed to be affordable, so there really shouldn't be a reason that people can't pay, and they can be adjusted if people's incomes fell below a certain threshold, then it might create a deficit for the organization. And the overseer would be the State Department of Housing, which I think exists in that form today. It was, when I was there, the housing had been subsumed into the Department of Economic and Community Development, and then I think it got stood up again as housing a few years back. But it's overseen, and the budgets are supposed to be approved by the state, and so that's the overseer.
Good, thank you.
Not the town. It's a private nonprofit corporation.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, let's have a vote on the transfer from the Basic Needs Fund of $40,000 to Branford Interfaith Housing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I oppose. I do too.
Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. The next item for Public Works, to reallocate balances in the street lining allocation and unexpended funds following the purchase of a roll-off trailer. The request will fund a mobile diesel generator and lawn equipment. It was heard by, I believe it was heard by Public Works, so Representative Bonenberger.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Public Services heard this on December 5th.
Public Services.
And Director of Public Works briefed us. The long and the short of it is he's purchasing some stand-up lawnmowers, which are pretty expensive, but they're easier on the back. Folks in his department seem to like them better than the rider mowers. They do a lot of mowing. And then a mobile generator, which is a mobile diesel generator, which is going to provide the department flexibility when it comes to disaster and disaster relief. It'll be easier for them to bring a large capacity generator to keep something like the town hall running or wherever it's needed. So 125,000 bucks, that's not cheap, but he made a good case for it. We voted, the committee voted 5-0 unanimously to endorse and approve, and I put that in the form of a motion to this body.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bonenberger. Any questions or comments on this matter? Going once, going twice. Okay. Hearing none, we'll have a vote. All in favor of this transfer of $125,143 from vehicles and street lining to purchase of equipment for Public Works, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries. Recreation, to reallocate ARPA funds originally earmarked for replacement of the wharf at Branford Point to the Veterans Park Playground. This was heard by Ways and Means. Representative Hartwell.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. This was heard at our meeting on the 4th of December. Basically, the money that is becoming available here to make this possible from the Branford Point replacement project. Finance Director Finch explained to us that it had come in well under budget, and that there was also money that had come in from some grants. Now, he didn't tell us exactly what those numbers were, but he said that that was how we're going to pay for the Vets playground. And outgoing Rex Director Alex Paluzzi was there as well, and talked about this Veterans Park initiative as being the last of a series that had started back, I think, in 2012. And so this was finalizing something which had been underway for a long, long time. So we talked about it in depth and approved it unanimously. So I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments for the committee on this matter? Okay, hearing none, let's have a vote to approve a transfer from the Branford Point Wharf Replacement Fund of $175,000 to the Vets Park Playground for $175,000. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, hearing none, the motion carries. Finance, to purchase a pension administration system to assist in administering the police and volunteer fire plans, also from the Branford Point Wharf Replacement Fund of $38,602 to the software needed for a pension administration of the equivalent amount. This was also heard by Ways and Means. Mr. Hartwell.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Again, this is being funded out of the savings on the Branford Point Wharf Replacement. It says here purchase, and actually I think it was clear because we talked about this for a long time in the committee. There is a software agreement that we're entering into with the current company that does our audits. And so this is going to be in addition to what we pay them to do the audit for the pension side. And this is going to greatly improve customer service for those members of the police and fire who are currently working toward their pensions so that they can figure out how much they've got coming to them in the future, or for those who have already on their pensions. So be able to go online and to look this up. This will save a lot of work in the finance department, and it'll also provide better, quicker, and more accurate possibly service for those people who are pensioning. So this is a win-win for everybody. But this is not a purchase. This is a rental. So there will be, this is an annual cost. And one of the things that we covered when we had seen the word purchase, and suddenly we understood that in fact this is an annual cost. So when we talked to Mr. Fetch about, so what other software systems are there out there that we're using today? This is actually on the cheap end of some of them. So he listed off several of them and the amounts of money, and Deputy Director LaBanca was there as well. So we did have a thorough discussion of this, and we had a lot of questions, but at the end it seemed like this was something that we should be doing. Again, this is coming out of ARPA funding, so the initial cost is coming out of ARPA. Going forward, this will be in the budget. So we approved it again unanimously.
Point of information, Mr. Henschel, should we amend the language before we vote to change it to a lease rather than a purchase?
I think that might be appropriate, yeah.
Okay. So can I have a motion to amend the language of the request?
I would move that we change the language so that it reflects the fact that this is a lease. This is the first year's lease, and I don't want to get too much into the numbers because I can't remember them all. So I'll just say that this is a lease, and that in the future it's going to be covered in the budget.
Okay, so for clarification, the item we are voting on will say to lease a pension administration system to assist in administering the police and volunteer fire plans.
Well, but hang on, point of information here, because this item was on the Board of Selectmen agenda, and it was also on the Finance Board agenda as a purchase. And if we're changing it to a lease, I don't think that that's probably a good idea. And I think the town clerk wanted to say something about that.
Yes, I have the website up, and the Jim Finch memo does state the request is to purchase a pension administration system to assist in administering the police and volunteer fire plans, etc.
Right. So modifying the language is not necessary.
All right, it was a point that was made in the discussion, so withdraw the motion. We can, let me hear some comments, please. Representative Black?
Yeah, just through you, Madam Moderator. I don't think we need to get too wrapped up in the semantics here, as long as we know what we're voting on. You know, we were there thinking it was one-time purchases. Those more entwined in the IT business will tell you, you don't buy a program anymore, you buy a license fee. So we are purchasing the right to use it for a year or a certain amount of time, but this will be an ongoing cost to the town. So it's not a one-time purchase. We're expecting to see this expense built into the finance department budget coming forward. So as long as, I think if we know what we're voting on, we did after some explanation at our.
And you agree with my.
I don't disagree with anything.
Good. So.
Well, the point of the clarification is for the public, and that it is an ongoing expense and not a final. However that is entered into the record, it is entered into the record. Yes. Representative Henschel.
Possibly one adjustment to the language we could make is to keep it a purchase, but say to purchase a pension administration system lease, add the word lease after the system.
I-
We wouldn't be modifying.
Let's leave if the language is what was passed today by the board, is that correct? Is that what was passed today,
I
Representative?
took the language directly from the Board of Finance.
Yeah, the Board of Finance has it as a purchase, and the Board of Selectmen today also had it as a purchase.
Okay, then we'll leave it as it is. Okay. All right, let's have a vote on the actual item. To purchase a pension administration system to assist in administering the police and volunteer fire pension plans for $36,602. Let's have a vote. All in favor of this transfer, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item carries. Police Department. This request supplements the Police Department's upcoming transfer request to purchase additional license plate readers coming from the Meadow Street Boardwalk Fund, $45,000 to transfer to license plate reader purchase of equipment for $45,000. This was heard by Public Services. Mr. Bonenberger, will you speak to this?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yes, Public Services heard this on December 5th. Chief Mulhern gave a very thorough description of the license plate readers. We had some questions for him, and I think that the subject of surveillance and any entity collecting citizen data is something that is a bit of a weighty topic. But the police chief assured us, I think, both that these are devices that capture license plate numbers, so it's not taking a photo of the driver, it's not data creep or anything like that. It's used primarily to track down stolen vehicles, so it assists in the law enforcement as one would expect. And also, he's going to be looking at the contract to ensure that the company that we're contracting with, which is Recor, has sufficient guidelines in place to make sure that they're not reselling our data, which is always a concern with this type of thing. I was very satisfied with his brief. They're going to be installing the cameras, I think he said, in 3 locations. The camera installation is one part of the cost, and then the software and the data management is another part of the cost. And we can probably look at other costs like this in the future if these things are successful. The committee voted 5-0 to approve, and I put that in forward motion. Any of your questions?
Thank you very much. Are there questions or comments for the committee on this matter? Representative Toohill.
Thank you. I just wanted to add to what Representative Bonenberger just said. Correct. Right. There's going to be 3 planned license plate readers. Stationary. I mean, there are license plate readers in police cars, but these are stationary. He said that probably one location will be exit 53. Now, this is a big aid to the Branford Police because every car that goes by the reader the car will be photographed as well as the license plate. Now, you know, car thefts are up, in Branford and all over the shoreline area. And so this will be a big help. If your car is stolen, you can report the license plate and they can check to see whether that car's going out of town, past the license plate reader on exit 53. So it'll be a big help. So I mean, we should all vote for it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Toohill. Other questions or comments on the matter? Okay, hearing none, let's have a vote. All those in favor of voting on this transfer of $45,000 to purchase license plate readers, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Executive, to cover a shortfall in the administrative costs incurred in the allocation of grants to nonprofit organizations from the Meadow Street Boardwalk Fund of $1,690 in the equivalent amount to administrative costs. This was heard by Admin Services. Mr. Edelman.
Again, thank you, Madam Moderator, and I will say that on December 3rd of 2024, this was our least controversial topic that was brought up, and I really don't have much to add. There was an administrative cost shortfall to the nonprofit organizations. The money's coming out of the Meadow Street Boardwalk to cover that for the amount of $1,690. It was passed unanimously at the meeting I just referenced by a 6-0 vote, and I put that in form of motion.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments for the committee on this matter? Okay, all in favor of this transfer of $1,690, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Item 8, to consider an, I think we've already voted on this, to consider and if appropriate, approve the Board of Finance resolution regarding the closeout process for ARPA appropriations as outlined by the First Selectman and the Finance Director. We did. There is a further...
No, I'm sorry. Point of information. There were 2 resolutions regarding this ARPA funding.
Okay.
So this was the second resolution. The first one was to allocate the remainder of the $71,000. This one is to allow the administration to move within the already allocated ARPA.
Okay,
So there are 2 resolutions regarding ARPA.
okay. And the second sentence of that item is the RTM requests that a final accounting be provided at a future meeting as to how the reallocation transfers were done. Okay? So, Representative Henschel.
Madam Moderator, a question. The second sentence was not part of the resolution, correct?
No, it was not.
I take it that that's an additional request that the RTM is asking?
Yes.
If we vote on this?
Yes. Should we separate them?
That was in the resolution
that we
passed
in committee, yeah.
that
Was or was not?
was. But specifically, can I read? Earlier, we talked about this, but I don't know.
Might be dead.
Nope, that's back. Okay, it's fine. All right, so, thank you. Our ARPA fund resolution, which wasn't about the individual items, but was about the idea of increasing the fund and closing it out. The Ways and Means Committee recommends the full RTM passage of an increase in cumulative ARPA fund appropriations from $8,185,500 to $8,257,021. This appropriation will fund a variety of projects to close out the fund. That was the first one. Then, to consider if appropriate, recommend a request to transfer previously appropriated funds between existing ARPA projects to create new projects with a final accounting to be provided at a future meeting as to how the reallocation transfers were done. So when we talked about the Branford Point Wharf Replacement Project money, that language was part of what we discussed.
Okay. So we have, this was taken up in committee and discussed, and how did the committee vote?
We approved it.
You approved it. Okay. So we have an approval of this in committee. Are there any questions or comments for the committee? Okay?
So was
Yes.
it approved with the additional line?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That's-
Yeah,
Yes, it was.
that's what he just
I
read.
missed it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can see that in my minutes that are on the town website.
Okay. So item 8 was approved unanimously in committee, and if there are no further questions or comments, we'll have a vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Okay. To consider and if appropriate, approve a closeout transfer request from the Director of Public Works for fiscal '24 as follows. From regular wages and salaries, $17,566, to overtime and accumulated sick pay for an equivalent amount. This was heard in Public Services. Mr. Bonenberger.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. We heard this on December 5th. Director of Public Works, Gary Zielinski, explained that overtime was for overtime work by Department of Public Works employees, and the accumulated sick pay was 2 employees retired, and we were contractually obligated to buy out their accumulated sick leave. The committee voted 5-0 to approve, unanimous for approval, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Are there any questions for the committee on this transfer? Any comments? No? Okay, then we will have a vote. All those in favor of approving a transfer in the amount of $17,566 to cover the sick and accumulated time, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the item carries. Okay. Moving through the agenda, item 10 is quite lengthy, and in the interest of time and clarity, I'm going to try to sum this up. This is to consider, and if each one as we go along, and each committee will report. To consider and, if appropriate, approve the following capital projects transfer requests. The first is for administrative services, to transfer, to close out the project for on-body cameras and phone system, in the amount of $376.85, and to transfer that amount to the general fund as the project is closed. Representative Edelman, would you report?
Yes, nothing quite more to add than what you just stated. December 3rd, 2024, this was passed by unanimous vote. This is just an overlay of monies that were not used for on-body camera and phone system totaling $376.85, and that's being returned back to the general fund for the same amount. I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We have a unanimous passage. Are there any comments or questions for the committee? Okay, all in favor of approving this transfer of $376.85, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item carries. Okay, and the next one was for public services, coming from GGB vehicles, the town clerk's vault upgrades, the GIS database update, the town center decorative lights, and the paving for town parking lots for a total amount of $206,627.13. Those projects, almost all of those projects would be extended, except for the first one. Then those would be transferred into the next fiscal year for a new project for the equivalent amount of $206,627.13. Public Services heard this. Mr. Bonenberger, will you give the explanation?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yes, we heard this on December 5th again. I will give kind of overview of it with the understanding that the explanations seem sensible to us and prudent. These are projects that were all approved some years ago in some cases, or ongoing. With the GGB, the transfer to DPW apparatus fund, that is, as was explained to us, an ongoing project to make sure that there is money for a new vehicle as the vehicle that is currently being used is getting long in the tooth. So rather than request the funds for a new vehicle all at once, this is being done in chunks, much in the same way that the fire department requests funds for apparatuses. Town clerk vault upgrades. Town clerk could probably speak more eloquently about that, but this is a very long, complicated project. There are a lot of ins and outs, as they say. This explains the large sum of money. You can't just shut things down to do all the fixes at once. You have to make sure that the town hall remains open to the public. So this is a long and complicated project that is making headway, but they need more time to complete it. They're working on it. GIS database update from engineering. The town engineer wrote me an email explaining that the GIS is essentially, as I understand, I didn't touch it or anything. So I think it's I'll just use my big boy voice. GIS is it's a form of map that you use when you want to look at property. There's a bunch of different layers that you can use for various engineering projects. You can look at natural resources. Anyway, it's in the Department of Engineering, and so he's the one who's on the hook to pay for it. They need to update it, as is often the case. Public Works, Town Center decorative lights, the Director of Public Works talked to us about it. Gary Zielinski said that was for holiday lights, so the recent holiday parade, the tree, things of that nature, 20,000. And then paving the town parking lots. Director of Public Works said that there's a particular parking lot that they're looking at now, that he's looking at, where the only requirement for it is the asphalt. So the $66,000 is actually just the cost of the asphalt. They have sufficient equipment and personnel to do a lot of it themselves. And I don't remember exactly what parking lot that was. I believe he said it was the old Board of Ed building. Is that right?
Post office.
Post office. Thank you. That's right. The old post office building for a total of $66,000. And then the other thing, engineering to engineering is a closeout of $2,000. Actually, that's another matter. Yep. So it all added up. It made sense. It's a lot of work. The committee voted 5-0 to approve, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Are there questions or comments for the committee on these transfers? Okay, hearing none, we'll have a vote. All in favor of the transferring from and extending those projects into a new year in the amount of $206,627.13, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Okay. From the next transfer is from the engineering department, $2,092.78 from their pavement condition survey. They're going to close that project out so that those funds will be transferred back to the general fund in the amount of $2,092.78. Mr. Bonenberger.
Yes, once again, we had an email from the Department of Engineering. I don't really have much to add. We voted 5-0 to approve this, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Are there questions or comments for the committee on this transfer? Hearing none, we'll have a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, from Fund 720, the Municipal Facilities Fund, we are moving to extend 3 projects for upgrading Town Hall, the front step, a generator, and transfer station improvements in a total amount of $208,675.47, and transferring them in as new projects into a new fiscal year. For the same amount, $208,675.47. Mr. Bonenberger, would you speak to this?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Again, we met December 5th, Public Services, and we heard from the head of GGB about this. For the first item, the maintenance of the front steps on Town Hall, Phase 1 is complete, he said. Phase 2 is going to begin in the springtime. This is going to make the front staircase a bit neater. Apparently the way it was constructed before, there were some drainage issues, which was making it unseemly, and when it would rain or freeze and unfreeze, there would be sort of visible damage to the stairway, which is obviously in nobody's best interest. The town hall generator installation, he said that we own a generator, so this is actually for the installation. I'm sorry, I actually we own the generator. This is for purchase and installation. Either we own the generator and it's for installation, or we're purchasing a generator and it's for installation at the town hall. The reason for this, I think, is sensible to everybody. Again, it's, if there's a disaster, if there's a hurricane and electricity gets knocked out in the town, we want the town hall, which is a hub of activity and disaster response, not to have to lose power. So this gives us another measure of redundancy to make sure that the systems all stay online. Most of the conversation was about finding a good location for the installation. But again, it seems prudent to me that the town hall have a backup generator that can go online that's sufficient to run systems. And then finally, the transfer station improvements. It sounds like there's a lot of problems at the transfer station in terms of pieces wearing out. There's fan systems on the top that are aging, and it needs to be repainted. There needs to be new metal sheeting. So for all of these reasons, they're asking for $121,000 to keep the transfer station as clean and functional as possible. The committee voted 5-0 to approve. I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay. We have a motion on this transfer. Do any members of the RTM have questions or comments for the committee?
Comment.
Yes.
Well, I just want to.
Representative Toohill, sorry.
Yes. I just wanted to add to Representative Bonenberg's report. So what's going on here is the RTM last session passed an ordinance so that the capital project accounts, if they're not utilized within 3 years, then the account gets closed and the money goes into the general fund. So what we're doing here, these are 3 very worthy projects that haven't been finished yet. So they're also 3 years old, so they're just about to be closed out, So it's to basically transfer them over to a brand new 3-year, term for each project. So that's what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toohill. Yes,
So then,
Representative Waterman, sorry.
if these are 3-year then projects, is there reasons why 3 years later they still haven't been completed, and why the money was requested 3 years ago for projects that were never, hadn't been done yet? So I guess that's my question. Why aren't they completed if they're so important?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And my understanding with a lot of these projects is that COVID basically set the timeline back. So when these were being approved originally under the original framework, the horizon was probably expected to be 2 years or 3 years, with the exception of the town clerk, the vault, which has, it's one of those projects where the further into it they got, they realized that there are all of these state regulations. According to Mr. Brony, I believe it was, he said that the town has been out of code since like 1972. So there's all of these things that they're finding, and they're really, the way the code is set up, it makes it very long and laborious to do it, but it's really nobody's fault, again, as far as I can tell. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Representative Ingraham, sorry.
And to add, that ordinance that we put in the last session, this cleans up where we used to have 10-year-old projects with dollars left, and suddenly somebody needs something to be done, and they go through and clean out those projects. So the thought was to start putting a time limit on them and have a re-review on the RTM in a timely fashion. So that's where it started off from. And I think it was Representative Conklin that really pushed it.
Yeah.
The 74 pounds.
Okay, Representative Toohill.
Thank you. I would like to point out in response to Representative Waterman's question that the first item there, the first worthy project, the town hall front step maintenance, they have already completed phase 1 of that project, and I think it was stated earlier, phase 2, which is scheduled for this spring. So, I mean, they are, you know, moving right along. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification.
Representative McCall.
It says generator installation, and on item 7, we just voted on $125,000 to purchase a diesel generator. Are the two in any way related? Is that the generator we're going to be installing?
Through you, Madam Moderator.
Yes.
These are two different generators. The Director of Public Works wants a mobile generator that can be shifted anywhere in the event of a disaster, or not in a disaster, just for use perhaps for a festival or something of that nature. But I think the need for it is probably in the event of a disaster, a hurricane, a windstorm, something like that, when power goes down, as it does every 5 years or so. This is different. This is a fixed generator that is dedicated specifically to Town Hall.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments for the committee? Okay, all in favor of approving a transfer, I'm sorry, lost, of $208,675.47 to extend these projects into a new year, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. The next item, there's one correction. It says from and from. It should say from and to. And this is a transfer request of $2,450 to extend that project into the new year. This was to be heard by Rules and Ordinances, but they haven't met yet. So I'm going to ask for a motion to suspend Rule 441 so we can discuss this now. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
In a second. Okay, all in favor of the suspension? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Representative Henschel.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Since the RNO did not hear this when it came up, I did reach out to Heather Wells Sweeney, who is the chair of the Conservation Commission, and asked her whether she'd send me a little explanation of what the request involved, and this was her response. The Branford Conservation and Environment Commission seeks your approval of a transfer of funds from the capital funds account to the Conservation Commission, NRI, its Natural Resources Inventory account, in the amount of $2,400. The funds are to cover the remaining balance generated in completion of the Natural Resources Inventory and the Open Space Index. Funds to cover the expense of such were placed in and held in the capital account in advance of the work. The work has now been completed by the contracted firm GZA. The Open Space Index can be viewed on the same website as the Natural Resources Inventory. Respectfully submitted, Heather Wells Sweeney. Again, since the RNO did not hear this, I would make a motion that we approve this transfer.
Okay. Do we have a second? Representative Ingraham. Okay, we have a second. Questions or comments on the floor, from the floor on this matter? Representative McCormick, did I see your hand or no?
No.
No, okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, if there were no questions or comments, let's have a vote on, to approve this transfer of $2,450 to extend the work on the National Resource Inventory into a new year. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The matter carries and is approved. Okay, Ways and Means, funds, capital fund transfers, an amount, in the total amount of $13,425.42 from Clear Government Solutions and the financial system upgrades and projects to transfer and combine those funds into a new project in the new fiscal year to system upgrades and projects for the finance department in the same amount, $13,425.42. This was heard by Ways and Means. Mr. Hartwell.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. This was also heard at our December 4th meeting. and Deputy Director Lavaca talked to us about this. She said that there was a timing difference in the ClearGov purchase of the software. So it didn't come into effect as soon as it had been assumed in the budget last year. And so therefore there was this money that was left over. And so she was asking, and we decided to agree to just roll the money over and allow it to be spent on more training for the new ClearGov system, which, by the way, is the one that allows the town to see the budget online rather than have to look in one of those budget books. So they're trying to move as much as possible into 21st century with the ClearGov solution to make the whole budgeting process more accessible. And so the purchase of that software did not happen as soon as it had been assumed it was going to happen, and therefore there was a timing difference, and therefore there was money left over from 2020, fiscal year 2024. So they want to put it into the next year and use it for training there or for other software that they might need. So we agreed to that unanimously.
Okay.
And put that in form of a motion.
Thank you very much. We have a motion to approve this transfer of $13,425.42. Are there questions or comments from the floor? Hearing none, we'll have a vote. Those in favor of this transfer, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, we'll say that the motion carries. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Hartwell. Education's capital fund transfers. The first request is to extend and amend the scope of the high school's entrance security upgrade project and the intermediate school entrance security upgrades for a total amount of $121,083.04 to roll those into a new year for a new project also concerning the entrance security upgrades at both the high school and the intermediate school. Again, for $121,083.04. Representative Leitch, can you speak to this at all?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yes, as I said before, we did meet. We did not have a quorum. At our meeting, the superintendent was unable to come, and Blaise Levitin, the chief operating officer, was going to come, and then at the last minute could not. So he sent me a summary, which I can share with you. And I also think everyone has attached to their agenda the superintendent's memo, which you can refer to and give some explanation. Basically, they would like an extension of the monies that have already been appropriated for the Branford High School entrance upgrade. And then the second one is for the Indian Neck School entrance security upgrade. They would like to revise that. They've already kind of fixed the security in the entryway to the school. They've done some things to make that work, and they'd like to use some of that money to change the parking lot to make it safer. So I guess I've not been over there. I don't know if anyone here has and understands the logistics, but apparently it's pretty dangerous, the ins and outs, so they want to reconfigure it. And that's what that's all about.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, very good. Any questions or comments about these transfers? And I'd like to correct, I read in both those times, instead of Indian Neck School, I read intermediate school, so I'd like to correct the record on that. Okay, Mr. Two Hills.
You need to wait for one first. They didn't have a quorum.
Oh, I forgot. I'm so sorry. Let us have a motion to waive Rule 441 on this matter. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second. We have a motion, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Rule 441 is approved. we've already had a wonderful explanation. Now, do we have any questions or comments? Okay. No, hearing none. Let us have a vote on the matter of to
Can I make a motion that we approve this? We have to have a motion.
Oh, we have to have a, that's right, because it wasn't heard. Sorry.
Second.
And a second. Thank you. All in favor of, now, of this transfer? Please say.
I'm sorry, may I make a comment?
Sure.
Thank you. I am very supportive of the new superintendent and the operations officer. I think I've met with both of them. I think they're terrific. But this wasn't able to be heard by the committee, and I'm wondering whether this is something that we should try to defer until, first of all, I don't know the timing on this, if that is even possible to defer it, but if it were possible to defer it, I would think that this would be something we would want to have a fuller explanation of, because it is a lot of money. As I say, I'm very supportive of the superintendent, the new superintendent, and the new operations officer. I think they're both terrific guys and are doing a fabulous job. But I don't think that our education committee was able to hear from either of them. And so I'm wondering whether this is something that we should think about deferring, if that is in fact possible. So I'm not here on my
I
own
think
at this point.
Representative Ingraham has,
Okay.
or someone did.
Yeah, I've got, did you have your hand up, Mr.?
I'm scratching my head.
Okay. Mr. Henschel, Mr. Black, who was up, who had?
His hand was up first.
Okay, Mr. Henschel.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I personally don't think we need to defer this, especially because this is not a new request. If this were a new request for additional funds to be expended, then I would think that would be appropriate. But this is a fund that's already been approved and we're being asked to extend it. So I think it's appropriate that we would vote on it tonight.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Black.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I don't have the ordinance regarding these funding transfers and expiration in front of me. My recollection, and I wrote the ordinance, so may or may not be correct, was that we needed to do this before the closeout of the fiscal year, or the funds would expire. So I think if we didn't do this, it might be an obstacle to the finance department closing out the fiscal year. And the idea is just, prior to this ordinance, we would have capital funds stranded years back, and the Board of Ed might come to us and say, well, we need more money for asbestos removal. And we're like, well, what about this money that's left over that we gave you 10 years ago that's still sitting in the account? This was just forcing people to look at that money. And again, as Representative Henschel said, these are projects that we've already looked at. I don't think there's anything massively controversial here, but as to why tonight, I think it might present an obstacle to closing out the fiscal year for auditing purposes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Mr. Toohill.
Thank you. Yeah, these two items, are extremely important, and I believe the entrance security at Branford High School was passed in 2020, and the idea there is to construct what's known as a man trap, they call it, which means that only like one person at a time can enter the high school through the front door. So I share Representative Hartwell's concerns. I also share Representative Henschel's concerns. I think we should pass this tonight, but I would like to know more about the status of that project. And I also would like to know, about the, what's planned for the campus, security upgrades. So I think we should ask them, the superintendent and the CFO to come to the next education committee, with Representative Leach, And also, as clerk, I would just like to say that I also do see now First Selectman Cosgrove here as an ex officio.
Thank you, Mr. Toohey.
Thank you.
Ms. Lake.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Excuse me for sitting, but I just want to read, so I want to clear the record. I was able to speak with Blaise Leviton, who is the Chief Operating Officer, and he did send me a quick summary via email, so I just want to read his phrasing. Maybe will clear up some of this. As far as the Branford High School entrance goes, he says the request is to extend the open appropriation beyond the town's 3-year time frame. He said that we have had significant turnover and are playing catch up on funds. They also plan to finish adding lighting and entrance improvements within this fiscal year. So that's just added information.
Thank you, Mrs. Leach. Mr. Hartwell.
So I was actually responding in my own mind to what Representative Blaise had said about the Indian Next School, which, if I understood correctly, the original project for entrance security has been taken care of, and the money is now being put into something which wasn't in the original thing. So I don't think this, in fact, has been thoroughly vetted. I understand that enhancing security in the parking lot is a good idea, and that's cool. I go past it every day almost. So again, I'm just wondering whether this is something that, if it needs to be done tonight, fine. I'll be happy to vote for it. If it doesn't need to be done tonight, then I would say I would prefer to hold off on it and get a more thorough explanation of what is, in fact, the money is going to be used for.
Is there a way we can get an answer to that question? Mr. Cosgrove, is there any way that you have an answer to that question?
It's a Board of Ed question.
Yeah.
I think Peter Black was correct in his recollection of the ordinance.
Okay.
So I think these funds would lapse per your ordinance that was adopted by the RTM.
Okay.
You know, I feel like, you know, those projects in terms of, sounds like from what I'm hearing, understand that there's, these are probably worthy projects, even though maybe the Indian Next School was not fully discussed at this meeting, to this body addressed. But you will have other opportunities to meet with the representatives of the board. I will think Les Levitan's letter stating about turnover, as we know, pretty much the whole board, or the administrative staff in central office has seen I think it's over 60% turnover, particularly in the area of their, not only superintendent, assistant superintendent, but also you had a new CFO and as well as new facilities. So given the fact that those positions, we saw turnover within this period of appropriation, I think you do need to provide them a little more time to play catch up.
All right. This seems to be as fully discussed as we're going to be able to discuss it, so let's have a vote. All in favor of this transfer of, let me see, $121,083.04 to create new projects on security for the high school and Indian Next School, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the item carries. Okay, the last transfer is from the Board of Education for UST removal. And I'm not sure what that is, maybe.
Underground storage.
Underground storage tanks, okay. For $3,616.84 to close out that project and transfer the equivalent amount to the general fund. Representative Leach, have anything to say on this matter? Oh, yes, we have to suspend 441. I'm sorry.
Make a motion, we suspend 441.
Okay.
I second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, okay, Rule 441 is suspended. Representative Leach.
So the original amount allocated was $30,000. and they're returning $3,316.84 to us, so I doubt we'll have a problem having this.
Okay.
Yeah, so
You put that in the form of a motion.
Representative Everson stole my thunder because I had to learn what a UST was. And I knew it. And so,
Okay, you can say it now.
that's okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve this transfer. Do you put that, you make that motion, Ms.?
This was 441, right?
Yeah, so you have to make a
Yes,
motion.
I'll make a
Okay.
motion.
Okay, so we have a second? All right. All in favor of this closeout of $3,316.84, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Okay, number 11, to consider and if appropriate, create an ordinance protecting licensed home daycare providers from restrictive HOA laws. Representative Henschel.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. This was heard in the RNO meeting of November 19th. In that meeting, Representative Ingraham presented some information relaying a verbal communication from the applicant withdrawing the request. So the committee voted unanimously to take no action on this, and I put that in forward motion.
Okay. So we have a vote, a motion by the committee to take no action on this, this request, this ordinance. Any questions or comments for the committee?
Just a point of information, this means that this matter is going to be withdrawn from our agenda, correct?
Yes. Okay, any other questions? Comments? Okay. All in favor of the vote to withdraw this, to take no action on this matter, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. To consider and if appropriate, create an ordinance to establish a harbor management commission pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 22A-113K. Representative
Thank you,
Henschel.
Madam Moderator. Again, this item was heard in the November 19th meeting of the Rules and Ordinance Committee. In that committee, we had a discussion of our progress in developing this ordinance. There was a framework for an ordinance that was presented to the committee and discussed. That is in the meeting minutes and the meeting agenda for that meeting, if people wish to review it. And the working group, in fact, has a very early draft ordinance in process. The committee, after discussion of where we stood, voted to re-refer this, and I put that in form of motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Committee moves to re-refer this matter. Do you have any questions for members of the committee on this re-referral? Hearing none, let's have a vote. All in favor of re-referral, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The matter is re-referred. Thank you very much. Item 13, to consider and if appropriate, hear an ordinance which will encode reasonable restrictions on short-term rentals in Branford. Mr. Henschel.
Madam Moderator, again, the Rules and Ordinance met on November 19th to discuss this item. The working group presented the results, analysis of the results of the 500 respondents to the survey that was presented put to the public over the summer. Those results analysis was discussed in detail at the meeting, and in addition, there was a framework for the ordinance presented, which was also discussed. The working group has not yet developed an actual draft ordinance, and that is our next step. So the committee voted at that meeting to re-refer this item. I put down the form of a motion.
Okay, we have a motion for re-referral. Any questions or comments for Mr. Henschel or the committee? Okay, hearing none, let's have a vote. All in favor of re-referral of this matter, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? the item is re-referred. Okay, item 14, calendar, you've all received one a paper version of proposed calendar. There are only two dates that deviate from the standard second Wednesday, and that is for the July meeting. We suggest moving the July meeting from the 9th to the 16th, mostly to give, because of where the July 4th holiday falls, the committees would not be able to meet appropriately before the RTM meeting. And the second one is at Mr. Toohill's suggestion, which is to move what would have been November 12th to the 18th. I'm not sure that's the right date. If the 12th to the 18th is 6 days, so we'll have to double check that. The 18th would be the second, the 2 weeks after the election. Oh, because
On Tuesday.
2 weeks after, it's a Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that would be typically the organizational meeting.
Yeah, that's in the charter.
That's in the
required.
charter. Okay,
Yep.
there it is. So those are, the others are second Wednesdays. These were checked against by me, the major American holidays, Jewish holidays, Hindu holidays, and Muslim holidays. So no conflicts as far as I can tell. In your committees, you may want to make sure you're not in conflict with any of those on your meetings as you either approve or amend your published schedules. Please make sure, once you have a published schedule, that you get it a copy to me and to the town clerk in the committees, okay? We have to have a vote on this schedule.
Madam Moderator?
Yes.
Just to confirm what I think you heard
Mike.
was, through you and the clerk, the November meeting is the charter mandated date.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I need somebody to move this.
I'll move it.
Okay, a second. All right, all in favor of this calendar as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? The schedule is adopted. I would like to hear a call for adjournment.
Any other
Any other business, sorry. Any other business to come before the RTM? Mr. Hines? No? No, I was just fixing my... Oh, fixing your... Okay. Any other business to come before the RTM?
Ready to go.
You're ready to go, okay. Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll have a call for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Go with God. Stay dry.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.